The last couple of reviews I made were not very positive, so I was hoping to finally have some nice things to say about a movie. And then I watched A House of Dynamite. Directed by Catherine Bigelow, this is a Netflix movie about a nuclear attack on the US and the government having to handle it. I gave this movie a 5 out of 10. Let me explain why. To me, this movie was a whole lot of nothing. We followed the same story over and over again with different characters. The thing about movies involving government things happening is that it gets complicated real quick. There are a lot of people and a lot of jobs and ranks that, as civilians, you don't always understand. So you have to identify with the person and not their job title. Something that is basically impossible to do here because there are so many people and we only get to see them for like 5 minutes each. You don't know much about the characters except that they are scared for their loved ones and in disbelief at the idea of a nuclear threat, which is the basic human feeling in this situation. But you don't see the loved ones that much and you don't know their story, so you care about them just as much as you do for the millions of people in Chicago that are about to die. There are too many characters and you don't have the time to highlight every person's humanity, how they are people with feelings and loved ones, stories, hopes and dreams, which is what you need to make this kind of movie work. It's mentioned in passing that this one has a sister, this one a son, this one a wife, but it doesn't feel special because we barely know them. We see them for one scene, if we see them at all. I would also like to say that this movie is a waste of a great cast. What do you mean you have Idris Elba, Anthony Ramos, Rebecca Ferguson, Jared Harris, and you only see them for 5 minutes each? They're doing what they can, but they don't have much to work with because there is not that much depth in the screenplay. And the fact that we have to go through the exact same story like 3 times makes it even worse. And at the end, you don't even get the answer that you want, so what was the point? Open endings only work if you have something to sustain it, something that makes you think or feel so deeply that you don't even need an answer because what mattered was the journey, not the destination. But here, the journey doesn't give us anything and we don't even have the destination. So really, what was the point? This just feels like a collection of random characters at different places going through the exact same emotion. This movie could have dived so much more into what it feels like to have the power to erase a city from the face of the earth. It could have talked about grief and love in a much more interesting way. So, at the end of the day, what was this movie about? Killing people is bad? Yeah, we know that. What else? Oh, nothing? Great. In my opinion, this would have been so much more interesting if we had followed 1 or 2 characters, spent more than one scene with their family, and get to know who they were as people. The movie is spent reacting and waiting, and for a movie about nuclear threat, the stakes felt incredibly low. I didn't care about any of these characters more than I would for any human being that I don't want to see die. I cannot remember their name or job. I don't know what their role is as a cog in this machine that is the government. So yeah, this really felt like a whole lot of nothing. Anyway, tell me what you thought about the movie and I'll see you soon for another review.